Trojan family, happy Monday. Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Hope everyone's doing well out there. It's going to be a busy week here at USC LAFB. I'll be on campus starting tomorrow every day for the rest of this week. We have spring practice availability tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday is USC's Pro Day, and then Friday, more practice availability during their spring ball camp. So excited to be bringing lots of news to you, lots of updates, lots of analysis, lots of what we saw and heard videos straight from USC. But today, some big recruiting news coming out of USC, and I did a quick little update for any of you that saw as I was out walking. I was, on dad duty today, so I was out walking with my daughter and thought, let me just pop on the phone here. I don't got to be sitting in front of the mic. Like I can still give some updates from nature sidewalk, if you will. So I already gave a brief update, but I want to dive in a little bit more on Honor Fa'alave Johnson, where his recruitment stands, and then add to that something on Danny Lang and also tight end / receiver Charles Davis. So kind of give you a full gamut here before heading to campus tomorrow. We'll have plenty more updates from that. So just a reminder, USC LFB brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Make sure to check out the FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, Jade Mayava plus 2,700 to win the Heisman. Those are the 12th best odds, or as I like to say, the 12th worst odds. Best for you because you can win a lot, because I think he's going to finish potentially as the Heisman winner, and he is that low, giving you incredible odds to turn little money into a lot. So FanDuel Sportsbook is where you can check that out. Big thanks to them for helping make USC LAFB possible. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for making USC LAFB and everything at the LAFB Network possible. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe, but if you guys not already, just helps us to keep this thing growing and get further reach for all of our content. So Honor Fa'alave Johnson, the number one athlete in the class, number one safety in the class, number one player from California. It's been feeling like USC for quite some time now, after USC was not really in the race early on. Well, he kind of is a guy that you felt was going to have a lot of official visits. He's been on a bunch of visits kind of the last 2 weeks or so. And then all of a sudden today, he tells, a bunch of other people, but really Rivals is the one that kind of came out first with the news that he will be announcing his commitment this Saturday, March 14th. So an early announcement, and he'll be doing that on, I believe, CBS Sports YouTube, where you can watch that. I'll probably throw out the link, I'm sure, at some point, but obviously I'll have a recap on when that is officially done. But anyway, after that came out, there was already, I think a good amount of predictions for him to end up at USC. Rivals did an article, I want to say last week, where they basically went through a lot of the top 5 stars and kind of predicted where they were landed. And all of the Rivals national guys had Honor Fa'alave Johnson at USC. So nothing really changed there. Scott Schrader now has officially, I trust Scott the most out of anyone. He's officially put his prediction for Honor Fa'alave Johnson. And, I've talked to him, on campus, and he's felt this has been the case probably for quite some time. He's just more of a guy that's going to wait for the, in respect to the kid, right? This is a process for them, and it's something to enjoy. You only get recruited once, so he likes to kind of put his prediction in later once they put a actual commitment date in there, so not to spoil any of the, their recruitment process, which I think, I respect that he does. But anyway, so he put in a prediction for USC. And aside from the predictions, I think the very obvious undertone why this is USC is 2 things. One, the early announcement, right? Like not waiting. He could still have 6 official visits if he wanted, and then just wait it out till then. And so, one, being it early tells you, like, based on what we know with USC, they kind of try to push these to get done quickly, just so then you focus, we lock it in. And on top of that, so this is kind of point number 2, once you do commit to USC, as we know, no more visits. And recruits know that. They know that going into, hey, once I commit, once I, agree to this NIL deal, that's it. I'm not doing any other official visits. I'm not taking these 6 different visits in June to all these different campuses. Like, that's it. I'll take an official to USC and we're done. And so the fact that it's that early and he didn't wait till after, tells you he's leaning that way. But also specifically, and I'll put the link in the description, specifically in this Rivals conversation, I'm paraphrasing, he says at the end, yeah, part of the agreement is that once I commit, I have to close my recruitment, so I will probably do that. That kind of tells you right there that it's going to be USC because of how their policy is. So great news. And then on top of that, it is expected, and obviously I will let you all know, so make sure, if you're not already, follow me on X at Ryan Doward LAFB. Obviously, I'll have my recap up here on YouTube after practice, but it is expected that he will be visiting on campus for most of the week. I don't know if it'll be every single practice, but certainly a couple of practices this week, potentially tomorrow even, he will be up on campus visiting. So I don't think, unless it's like a latch-dis effort, I don't think you're visiting a school the entire week prior to your announcement if it's a different school you're committing to. Unless it's like he silenced someone else, the other USC heard about it and said, hey, no, one last ditch effort. Come here, let's see if we can convince you. Like, to me, it's more like, I think it's USC. So, but we will see on Saturday officially, but things looking really great, which is a massive commitment for USC if it all comes to fruition. Like I said, the number one player in California, number one safety, and number one athlete, depending kind of how they have him fully rated. And so this is a kid that's going to have a huge impact for the Trojans, and one that, so many hands involved in this recruitment. When you look at Coach Savage a little bit on the offensive side. They're talking about maybe using him a bit as a two-way player. Obviously, Lincoln Riley as the head coach. Paul Gonzalez and Gary Patterson since they've gotten here. Chad Bowden has been, obviously very involved with kind of the NIL side and really basically securing, saying, we're not letting this kid out of the state. And then probably most importantly, Coach Dog has been an absolute dog in this recruitment. I mean, he is... Everyone in USC knows, but he is beginning to get that national awareness of how special he is and how good he is going to be, or already is, but he is going to keep climbing the ranks. And the question really is not if USC can hang on to Coach Dog, it's just how long can they hang on to Coach Dog, because he will be a GM one day. And that's a good thing. Like, you want guys in your program to grow and go on and succeed and get elevated elsewhere. Now, you hope it doesn't end up at like a rival school. That makes it a little bit more painful, but he will be a GM one day, and a damn good one at that. And so just, if you're a USC fan, enjoy what he is and enjoy how involved he is in this program and how special he is in the recruitment side, because guys like Honor Falave Johnson, we could talk a lot about the 26 class, like, it may not get over the finish line without Coach Dog. That's not taking anything away from Bowden, Riley, any of the other recruiters. And obviously in this NIL age, that plays a role. But Coach Dog and his ability to craft relationships with not just the recruit, but the families, and kind of connect those dots and really create a home feel is so special for these players. And he just has that. And you hear players talk about him. And he really is one of the key cogs that really helps this recruiting arm go. So big tip of the cap to Coach Dog. Again, not official yet, but things are looking really good, and he is a huge reason for that. So Saturday, I'll be on here, obviously, when that officially does go live. But 5-star safety Honor Fa'alave Johnson looking really good to end up at USC, which would also mean recruitment shut down. No officials, don't got to worry about him going to Ohio State or Notre Dame or Oregon in June. He'll just, we can kick back. And that's another thing I want to talk about quickly, and I won't belabor this too long. I don't think many people disliked it. When Chad Bowden was hired, right, and he implemented this new policy of no visits. I think on the surface at first I was like, okay, cool. Like, no one really cared. And then you get the Xavier Griffin decommitment, which was he the first one, or was Cohen Brown? But there was only 2 decommitments total in the whole class. It was Xavier Griffin, 4/5-star backer, and Cohen Brown, the receiver out of Texas. And so Xavier Griffin had been committed for a long time, seemed like it was still very strong with USC, and then kind of out of nowhere decommitted. And it was almost more of a mutual decision, and then we came to find out it was more like, hey, he still was wanting to take visits. USC said, nope, our new policy, I know it wasn't here when you committed, but this is it. So that was the one time when you saw a little bit of kind of back and forth, not just among the fan base, but among those in the media and those that cover USC. I think there was some, I remember a few out there being like, this is USC. Who cares? Like, let these guys visit. If you're really as strong as you think you are, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to, let them visit after committing, and you still hold on to the commitment. I think we've seen now, with how 26 closed out, that this is a damn good policy. I've stood all along, I'm like, I have zero problem with kids taking 100 visits. That's what I would do. It's not what I would do, not what I would want my kids to do, but I have no problem with it. Just don't commit. Like, why commit then? Just wait. Go do all your visits, enjoy the process. You only get recruited once, take as many visits as you want. But once you commit, then be done with it. So I never had any problem with Chad Bowden USC saying that's what we're going to run with. Once you commit, we're done with it, right? No more visits, moving on. So I've talked about it a bunch. I'd love to get your thoughts if you have any more. But I think the proof is in the pudding now, because last year at this time, when USC was starting to stack all these commitments, all the talk nationally was like, well, we saw what happened in 25. Just wait. Can they make it to December? Can they make it all the way to the finish line? And at this time last year, because if I'm not mistaken, those decommitments happened already prior to the spring. So at this time last year, they did not have a single decommitment from now until signing day, with 35 total commitments. So the proof is in the pudding. It worked. I think kids weren't like upset by it. They obviously get, with NIL compensated for it. And sometimes now you can do like bonus structures, which is kind of crazy. So proof is in the pudding. I think it's worked out great. And I think it's been a great policy for USC. And I think we will start seeing other programs follow suit. Like 100% we'll start seeing that, especially these programs that are continually having kids flip, even with NIL structures in place. And so we'll start seeing a lot more of this of like, okay, yeah, this is a new kind of strategy being adopted around the league that for all programs, once you commit, you're locked in. USC started that trend, I guess, which is great. Okay, we'll do these last two quickly. So Danny Lang, the other one we've talked a lot about, was on campus 3 days last week. We saw him on, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I want to say. Those went really well. Practice went great. 2 weeks ago, Oregon had kind of taken the lead in the front runner. Last week, now after these visits, USC back in the lead. Steve Wiltfong actually put in a Fong bomb for Danny Lang to ultimately commit to USC. Greg Biggins has also gone back. I believe Biggins went from USC to Oregon. Now he's back with USC. But yes, he is back on the USC train for Danny Lang. And that just shows you how important these visits are. So as of now, his commitment date is still July 2nd, which is a long way away. Based on people I've talked to, based on other reports that are out there, it does not seem like it will make it to that point. I think USC is pushing hard for an early commitment. Obviously, that's strategic because then they can shut down the recruitment. We will see ultimately how early that could come. But if he does come out, and if reports come out that, Danny Lang is going to make his announcement April 3rd, that's just a random date I'm throwing out there. That kind of tells you, similar to Honor Falave Johnson, that kind of tells you that, all right, that's going to bode pretty well for USC. So we'll wait till we get to that point. I'll just say as of now, I've talked about him a bunch. I talked about him a bunch last week. As of now, things are back in the front court for USC and looking good. And you hope the USC can close out their corner room with Aaron Washington and Danny Lang. And then Honor Falave Johnson can headline the safety room while they'll look to add one more. So it would be a great 3-man DB room with one spot left to fill if they can close these out. But Danny Lang looking really good as well. We'll wait to see when his commitment date, if it does get moved up. Finally, Charles Davis. I've talked about him. He's really soared in the rankings. He's now a 4-star tight end, hybrid receiver. He was on campus last week, saw him there. It's really in USC's court. I think if USC basically says, yep, we got room, we 100% want you, and that they do want him, so I want to make that clear, but they're limited in spots for that receiver tight end room, so I think they're kind of feeling out some of these other spots, with Eric McFarland, with Osani Gale, with Damani Warren, and obviously Charles Davis is like more of a tight end, but he plays hybrid, so they kind of maybe are lumping those together a little bit. I think they're kind of feeling those out. I know they're really high on Charles Davis, but to me, if they're like, all right, nope, we want you, we're all in, I think he commits to USC. Greg Biggins has put in a prediction now for Charles Davis, as well as Adam Gorney for Charles Davis. So things looking good for him. Again, more so in USC's court if they want to say, all right, let's make this happen. And then I think USC is very high on his list, and he's kind of just, waiting to be like, all right, is there a spot for me? And we'll see where that goes. So we'll see if he's back on campus here soon, obviously a local prospect, and we'll see what other visits he does ultimately take, as many other schools have jumped into his recruitment with his kind of surge as of late. So those are the three I wanted to drop on you quickly this evening. We'll have a ton of content tomorrow, so make sure to keep it right here, USC LAFB. Check out our message board over at LAFBnetwork.com. It's free to join, free to read. If you want to sign up for a subscription, hey, we appreciate it. That would help us out, but you can do a free subscription just so at least you get email updates and stuff like that. So that's over on LAFBnetwork.com. But at the very minimum, just become a subscriber here at USC LAFB. Big thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the show, but most importantly, thank you to you, family. See you all tomorrow from USC. As always, fight on.